Hello, my stitchy friends. This is Laura from Stitching by the Shore, a channel all about cross stitch. If you are new here, this is a Flosstube extra that I'm doing. I did not get a chance to tape a video this week because of family being around for Thanksgiving, but I thought it might be fun to do a kind of stitch with me video. So if you want to get a chance, grab your stitching and have a seat, maybe a cup of tea or coffee, and do some stitching with me. If you're a returning viewer, I know a few times some of you asked about this, so I thought, hey, why not? I have some time this Sunday morning, and I'll sit down and do some stitching and maybe stitch with you. So grab your stitching, grab whatever you need. I'm going to put the camera down just a little bit here. I'm not going to angle it completely towards my stitching. I don't know if you need to see my exact stitches as I go. I am not a precise stitcher. I kind of wing it and I do whatever. This is my very first time that I'm doing a kind of stitch with me video. So hopefully it goes well. Hopefully there are not a lot of awkward pauses, and hopefully I have things to talk about with you. I know a lot of you recently have asked about my Delaware and Connecticut connection and journeys, and I know a lot of you are probably pretty new compared to when I would have talked about it originally. And I don't know if I ever told the full story, so I thought maybe this would be a good time to do some stitching and to chat about that. It is Sunday morning, like I said, after Thanksgiving. It's a bit chilly here, but I would say mid to high 40s, so not too bad. I'm hoping maybe to bundle up in a little while and go for a walk because the sun is out. So I thought it'd be a nice chance to, get a little bit of exercise in. But first I wanted to do some stitching and I wanted to chat with you. So today I thought I would work on 'Twas a Fair Night by Stone Street Stitchworks. I have the pattern next to me right here. So if I look down that way, that's what I'm looking at. I brought out my iPad to show you, in case I had anything to show you, and then I have no idea where I've left it. It's somewhere around here. But I'm going to show you where I am right now. It'll give you an idea of what it's looking like. I'm only stitching the house of this pattern. There is a below section, and then there's a big star up top. I'm not doing either one of those. I just wanted to do the house for this pattern. I have done the star before. Last video, I showed one finished version of it and what I thought about where I'd like to go with that. So if you have not seen that, you can check that out and see what my plans are with that. I thought this one would be a good one because there are big chunks of, there's only 3 colors actually in the entire pattern. The black, the 3777, and then the white. I believe, let me see what this says. I'm using B5200. I think it does call for 3865, but I wanted something like really bright to contrast with the colors. And so that's what I did. This is a color, no, yes, no. I don't remember. I will put down, I don't know if it's Color and Cotton or if it's Fabrics by Stephanie. I meant to check before I sat down. I do not have any more of it in where I have my pattern here, so I can't check. But I will check and I'll put it in the description box below, all the information about this piece, just so you know, in case you're interested. It's a great color. I know I'm doing something on Gingerbread. I just can't remember if it's this one, but it's a great neutral. And like I've said before, I really like doing Stone Streets on neutrals. I know I use a lot of color otherwise, but I thought this time around with this pattern, the neutrals really looked good. Oh, you may see the back of my pattern. My stitching setup is different every single time I sit down to stitch. I really have no idea what I'm going to do at any given time. I've pretty much stitched everywhere in the house. It just depends on where I feel like, what the sun and lighting is like, and what room I feel like being in. This is actually the couch that you see when I'm taping, so it's right behind. And I am also utilizing, a very good stitchy friend made me a pillow, and I am forever grateful because I stitch left-handed. So what I do is I just put it right underneath my left side, and it is supportive of my arm. I'm right-handed. I don't know why I started stitching lefty for whatever reason. I do a lot of things lefty. I eat lefty, and just a lot of other things. For some reason, I just gravitate that way, even though I write and have always written with my right hand. But stitching it just seems strange to try to do it the other way. It's just how I happened to learn a long time ago, so that's the way I've kept it. I am nothing, I have nothing like that's super fancy. I use my DMC most often, you know that. Very rarely would I use anything else. I keep my DMC right in the skeins. I pull out what I need, and then I have the extra. And when I don't need any more, I just wrap it around the skein and put it back with my other colors, and that in order to reuse. So we have the B5200. This time I'm using 310. I know a lot of times I go with Anchor Black. I think this was before I really discovered Anchor when I started this. So that's why I'm using that. And 3777, which is a great color. Ooh, I kind of match. Is a great color for those deeper kind of magenta-y reds. Other than that, I love using, I've showed this once. So if you take an Altoid tin, now I have bought, because I've over the years done different things with paper crafting, I actually bought these just plain old silver. There is no, it wasn't an Altoid tin ahead of time, but it's the same exact size. And I have a metal die that can cut the exact size of the top. I did a little stamp on top. I put a little bit of ribbon around there. And this goes everywhere with me for stitching, whether I'm stitching in the house or if I'm stitching in the car. I love it with the car as well. Inside, I usually keep a, whatchamacallit, needle minder. And I happen to have, let me move the needles down a little bit. The needles are in the middle bit. I have the needle minder. It's my Nancy Drew's Secret of the Old Clock. And I usually put multiple needles on there when I'm not using them. So I always have them, especially if I want to thread more than one color or it's just a place to keep them. And I'm telling you, I don't know how many times, especially in the car, this has fallen. And anything that's attached to that needle minder, all those needles, they never go anywhere. They stay completely attached. I also happen to have just a little tiny threader that works in here. And then I have these scissors and they fit. They actually, these happen to also, it's magnetic. So, you know, it clicks right onto the needle minder. And then when everything is in, it can come and go with me. And so I just grab this anytime I'm stitching. I usually put it right next to me, take my scissors and put it in that side so I have an easy grab, and then I have the other stuff right there. So that's what I'm reaching for if I am reaching for to the side. And I guess that's all the preamble. I should probably get some stitching done or this would not be a stitch with me. So I'm gonna start with the door. This is an easy one where I wouldn't have to count a lot. This side, I've got the windows done, there's a door here, and then it's just a lot of fill-in of the 3777, and then there's one more row of a white design that will get filled in, and those are tree designs that you will eventually see. I use 2 strands of floss on an 18 count. I always have, I just like the coverage. I know a lot of people like to do 1, and it really is your own personal preference. When I use the 2 strands, I do a loop start. So I've already figured out where this is gonna go in. So I am just going to go from the back, grab the loop, and there we go. I'm ready to go. Somebody very generously found a video, I can't remember, from the Flosstuber, who stitches left-handed, and she did a video on the sewing method left-handed, as I've never been able to figure it out. I have not had a chance to sit down and watch that yet. So you're gonna see my lovely poke and stab method. It's just the way I stitch for whatever reason. That's just how I learned again. And what works for me. I do wanna watch that video though, because I'd be really interested to see that method and see how much easier it would be versus doing it this way. But you know, you go with what you know right now, and this is what I do. So this is it. All right, so let me know what you are stitching. If you are stitching with me, I would love to hear about it and hear what you were stitching as well. So Thanksgiving week, this was a crazy busy week, but it was a lot of fun. It's strange now that everybody's gone, although you know, you get to a point where much as you love having the company, you also do need a break sometimes. So I think it was just the right length. We had family come in last Sunday. Mo grabbed Connor from college, and then he also grabbed my mother and father-in-law and my mom, and they all came down last Sunday from Connecticut. And then Megan had to go to a class in person on Tuesday. The teacher wouldn't let them do any kind of Zoom class. Connor, on the other hand, was able to do classes virtually. And then I think there wasn't that option, but the teacher really doesn't really care if you're in class, just get your notes and keep up. So he has plenty of friends in the class, so he was able to get the notes for that. So Megan came down from Tuesday. So from Tuesday on, we had a nice full house, and it was mostly full since last Sunday. This is the first time, excuse me, that any of our parents have seen the house. We have had it since last November was the closing. So that was super exciting that we were able to bring them down and get a chance to show them where we are down here. And I think they really enjoyed themselves. My in-laws, plus my mom, obviously you're talking about people in their 70s, and my father-in-law is in his early 80s. So over the last couple of years, things have been very much close to home. The last time any of them have been on vacation was the summer of 2019. If you don't know, my in-laws are from Ireland as well as my mom. So usually most summers they head back because they all have family back there. And so in 2019, they all did make the trek back and spend time with family. But since then, they've really gone nowhere. So this was a great chance for them to get away and relax, have a mini vacation, spend some time with family. And it was really, I can't tell you how nice it was to have everybody down here. The weather was iffy. Some days they were colder than others. Some days we just bundled up and went out. My mom is a walker. She likes to walk. I don't know if likes to walk, but it gives her something to do. My stepdad passed away about 4 or 5 years ago. So she lives in an apartment. And so it gives her a chance to something to do. She likes to get out, get the fresh air, see people as she's walking. So she always likes to walk. And then my in-laws have always been pretty much walkers too. So a couple times they all just bundled up and said, we're just going to go for a big giant walk around. This is a kind of a neighborhoody community. So you pretty much, as long as you continue walking in the circle or keep going around, you won't get lost. You'll find your way. So that's what they did a few times. We took them down to the boardwalk in Rehoboth and walked along there, which was really nice. Brought Shamrock to the beach one day, which he loves to do, and then some shopping and things like that. So even though some of the days were a little bit chillier, we were able to get out for the most part. I think there was more rain one night into one morning, but really there were no days where you couldn't get outside, but you would have to bundle up. Thanksgiving Day was gorgeous. I think the temperatures got into the high 50s, if not 60, and the sun was out. What we did was, I did a lot of prepping on Wednesday, cooking here and there. The kids went out shopping with the grandparents over at the outlets, and so it gave Mo and I a chance to get some food prepped and so on and so forth. So there really wasn't a ton to do on Thanksgiving Day, more just a couple hours before we were going to eat. So Thanksgiving morning was so nice that we all bundled up and actually went to the boardwalk that day and had a lovely Thanksgiving walk on the boardwalk. And actually that's the day that we went to the beach and brought Shamrock and let him romp around in the sand a little bit. He doesn't like the water, but he does love the sand, which we never knew because we've never taken him to the beach really before this year. So that was that. And then we had a fantastic meal. You know that I am not a meat eater. I'm vegan. So Thanksgiving, which is really all about sides, is perfect for me. I can just make everything without having, milk or eggs or meat or anything like that. And then I made myself some tofu, which I love. We have a favorite tofu recipe that pretty much every time I want to have something as a side in place of a meat, if other people happen to be eating meat, I make it. It's super easy. It's just marinated and baked, so there's not a lot to do to it. And so that was that. We had a great time. Megan went back to school on Saturday. I drove her up yesterday. We took a trip up to Pennsylvania, to Bryn Mawr, and brought her back because her classes start tomorrow. And then Connor is going back to school today, actually. Mo's probably in the car right now with him and driving him back to school. So we went from 7 of us in the house to just me and Shamrock now. Much quieter. Although Shamrock this morning decided that he really had to go out at 1:30 in the morning. And so, we had a little bit of a nighttime jaunt outside. I felt really bad because I'm a pretty heavy sleeper. And I don't know how long he might have been whimpering because he ran to the door when I finally woke up and dragged myself there to take him out. But now he's sleeping peacefully because, he kept me up half the night with his business, but now he can sleep most of the day. So he's just nice and relaxed. Yeah, so this week was just, kind of this and that. Shopping, cooking, family time, lots of walks, and outside time as much as possible. And really, really enjoyable. So for those of you who are asking about why I'm going between Delaware and Connecticut, I thought I would just talk about it a little bit here. And this way too, if I have any new subscribers later on, if they ask, I can just direct them to here. Let me start even farther back than that. Mo and I are both Connecticut natives, for want of a better word, in the sense of we both were born in Connecticut, we both grew up in Connecticut, and besides going away for college, really spent most of our life there. And a few years back, as the kids were getting older and were thinking about when they'd be in college and then eventually on their own, I thought about just, where we wanted to be after that, when it's just Mo and myself. And the more I thought about it, I was kind of in need of a change. Just something different, kind of shake up our lives a little bit and change it a little bit. So I talked with Mo about it, and he was on board and he kind of agreed. And so then we were thinking about, well, let's think about where we would want to move. That would eventually be where we'd want to retire. I mean, he's got, he's not ready to retire at any time soon right now. But we were just looking towards the future. And in a perfect world, if winter didn't exist, we most likely would have probably chosen Maine, because we've had so many fabulous memories of family vacations in Maine. For years and years, we took the kids up to Algonquin, and some of my best and happiest memories of vacations are our Algonquin trips. So that was definitely something that sprang to mind right away. Oh, where would I want to move to? But I am not a winter girl. I'm really not. I don't like the winter stuff. I don't like being cold. I don't like being out in the winter, snow, ice. I'm not the most graceful person in the world. If I can trip over my own 2 feet in perfect weather, I do. So you add snow and ice and everything else, and you never know what's going to happen and whether or not I'm going to end up upright or falling. So that pretty much nixed Maine, unfortunately. So then we needed to look where it might be not necessarily warm all year round, like a Florida, but maybe just something that's a little bit more comfortable. And where would we want to go? And when we were thinking about it, one of Mo's cousins, her and her husband moved down to Delaware, 5-6 years ago, 7 years ago, I don't even remember. And they loved it. So we chatted with her and we said, what was it like, and so on and so forth. She said, come down, stay with us, drive around, which we did. We stayed at a really, really lovely B&B in Bethany Beach, right on the beach. It was gorgeous, and just spent our time driving around and looking at Delaware itself. That was probably in 2018. Yeah, 2018. And we thought, you know what? This looks like a really great place to think about. And Eileen couldn't give it enough rave reviews. She really liked it, and we thought, okay, let's think about it and let's see what we should do. So we talked with her and decided that maybe we would try to rent a place for a little while in Delaware to see if we really did like it in one of the areas. We were looking in Lewis and Rehoboth areas specifically, kind of by the beachy areas, not on the beach necessarily. We couldn't afford right on the beach, but maybe someplace within those towns. So we were able to find a place in Lewis that we were able to rent, and I'd say late spring of 2019. I think we rented it 6 months, I'm not sure, 6 months or 7 months. It was somewhere along those lines. And we basically were able to come back and forth from Delaware to Connecticut, spend as much time as we could to kind of explore the area, see what it's like, and so on and so forth before we made our decision. And the other thing about Delaware, which is really nice, is their taxes are much, much lower than Connecticut, which is a beautiful thing, because we definitely get taxed quite heavily where we are. And obviously there's benefits to the state, and I'm not gonna just say bad things about it, but it is expensive to live there to a certain degree, and taxes are high. Property taxes, car taxes, you get sales tax, so there's everything. You're taxed pretty much for everything. So we said that's also a plus coming down to Delaware as well. So we spent time back and forth, especially in that summer, and then we spent a decent amount of time back and forth in the fall, because Megan was in college in Pennsylvania at that time, so she'd have field hockey games, and so we would go down and utilize the house as a back and forth there, because it's closer to Bryn Mawr from here than it is in Connecticut. And we decided that we really did enjoy Delaware. We liked it a lot. We liked being fairly close to the beach, but still kind of being away from all of the craziness of the summer activity. Being on the place we rented was away on the other side of the main drag, away from the beach. And we kind of liked that idea as well. And we were looking around, and down here there's a lot of building, quite a lot of building. And we've never built a house before in our lives, but we kind of thought, you know what, that's not a bad thing potentially to consider. And so we started to look at different communities that they were building, and different builders, and just kind of looking around, looking at a lot of model homes and things like that, trying to figure out if that was the route we really wanted to go. And after a lot of time, we decided that yes, we did want to build, that was a new adventure that we wanted to try. I cannot figure out which one of these needles is threaded. I threaded one of them, and it's not those two, so it must be this one. Yes. Okay, so I'm just going to figure out what I'm doing here. So anyway, we figured out which builder we wanted. So then we needed to look at some of the different communities that they build in and figure out where we wanted to be. And it was funny, it was in December of 2019, and we weren't gonna keep renting the house. We had decided that we had seen what we needed to see and start really saving our money. And so we were down in December, probably mid-December, I'm not really sure, getting the house kind of cleaned so that, we kept it in as good a condition when we left it as we got it, and getting everything ready. And there was an afternoon, and we said, oh, we have some time. Let's just take a ride. And we rode around one of the communities in Rehoboth, and we said, for the heck of it, let's just stop into the model home and ask how long it takes if you were to consider a lot, how long it would take for the house to be ready. And so we, it was a quiet day in December. There was nobody else that the sales individual was talking to, and so he spent, oh boy, 2-3 hours with us, just chatting about all the different things that went with it. And he said, let's just look around at some lots. I've got a lot that I'd love to show you. And we said, sure, why not, you know. And he showed us the lot that we are on right now, and it was so peaceful and so quiet. Across this, we have people behind us, and most of the houses have, you know, people in front of them, but where we are, it's right at the road where there's just a small little circle, and then there's a green across the way before you get to the circle. And so our house it's mainly road, but you've got the green right there. And it was so peaceful. It was kind of a drizzly, kind of almost foggy sort of day, but there was something about it that was really, I can't even explain. And both Mo and I felt it, and we said, you know what? This is where we could totally see us building and living. And if you knew Mo, he is not a spur of the moment, big, especially big ticket buying kind of person. But I guess he had felt like he had done enough research, because he had researched and looked into whether or not this was even an option for us before this. So we both felt a connection right here. So we said, that's it. And we actually signed the contracts that day in order to build the house. Now, obviously, you're in a queue of other people who are building ahead of you. And actually, we were able to, for a couple months, basically give other people our line in the queue, because we said, let's wait a little bit longer before we actually start the building process. And so this house actually, I want to say the end of June of 2020, they actually started actual construction. And it was amazing to me. If you had told me I was going to build a house during a pandemic, I would have told you you're crazy. We were not able to come down to Delaware during any of the process. We had to do all of our choices for floors, cabinets, tiles, paint, you name it. Everything we had to choose, we had to do through Zoom online. When there was partway through a construction kind of walkthrough. So luckily Mo's cousin, being down here, she came in our place and she put us on FaceTime and FaceTimed it through. So we did not see the house until the walkthrough, right before closing. And so the house started building, I want to say end of June, and the walkthrough was right through the end of October, and we had the closing in the beginning of November. So we have looked at this house. I got to keep stitching. I'm just talking with you. This house is definitely our place where we plan on retiring, but Mo obviously has lots of time before he's retiring. Luckily, and I think this would have actually worked, because he talked about it to his bosses before the pandemic even started, because obviously it was something he needed to talk through with work as an option. But remote work, his company happens to be pretty much on top of that kind of experience for workers, even before the pandemic hit. So that when everybody was sent home in March of 2020, their transition to remote working was seamless. He worked one Friday, and by Monday he was on the computer, and everything pretty much had already been put in place. So they really did not have any type of growing pains when it came to that. So Mo has been remote since then, just because of the pandemic. And I think, I'm not sure if the end of this year or the beginning of next year, they've started to say, we're going to start bringing workers back. In the process, they asked people, would they prefer to be full-time in office, half and half, even full remote. And so Mo spoke with his bosses and said, well, I'd love to be full remote. And they had no problem with that. When we built the house here, there is a office that we had to give him a separate spot because we knew he'd be working. So at the front of the house, there is a dedicated office that he works from and has all of his computer things that he can do, so on and so forth. So he will work remote at this point from now on, and it's not an issue. I think there are even some people who are in Connecticut that plan to work full remote, even though they would be close to the main offices. But like I said, the company has been pretty good about that kind of thing and really open to working with each employee with what's best for them. So that's really kind of nice. So both of our kids happen to be in college right now. We just, Connor just started as a freshman. So we have definitely spent more of our time here because that's the transition that we want to make. And I think over winter break, we're going to have, I already have spoken to an agent, a real estate agent in Connecticut, and said, hey, would you help us sell our house when we're ready? And she said, absolutely. And so I think we're going to talk to her this winter to kind of look ahead. I am not planning on keeping both houses for a long period of time, maybe another year and a half, and then transition completely down here to Delaware. But in the meantime, there's a lot that could be done up there to get it ready to be the best showing possible. So I figure if I give myself the most amount of time to get things ready and fix anything that needs to be fixing, spruce up some things that need to be sprucing. We did a lot when we first moved in. We've been in that house in Connecticut for about 10 years. But there's some areas where the paint's showing somewhere and things need to be touched up here and there that, we just haven't gotten to in the last year or two. So there's stuff that needs to be done. Nothing major, I don't think, just a lot more cosmetic and things like that. So that's what we're looking towards. And we will eventually transition to Delaware full-time down here. I'm super looking forward to that. In the meantime, I am spending as much time as I can learning about my new area. It's a little difficult when you're still in the process of the pandemic, but I just do the best I can. And as things open up more and I feel more comfortable being out and about, I'll be able to get chances to see more and more. So that's super fun, something to look forward to. And if nothing else, I can go and walk along the beach because that's outside and it's one of my favorite places to be. Now, I am not a lay in the sun, get a tan kind of person. I have very burnable skin, so does Mo. So we are more of the get up at 6 a.m., take a walk on the beach kind of people, maybe bring some chairs, sit and watch the sunrise when it doesn't rise at ridiculous early times. And then go maybe after dinner, that kind of thing. That's my sweet spot for when it comes to the beach, but it is one of my all-time favorite places to be, and just to sit and listen to the ocean is one of the most relaxing things that works for me. So that's what our goal is and looking forward to. So that's kind of what is behind the whole back and forth between Connecticut and Delaware. We obviously go back for different things. If there's stuff going on in Connecticut, or Connor goes to school in Massachusetts, so it's an easy jumping off point when he's going to and from school. And we obviously have our family still up there, so we're not going to be never going back there because we obviously have a connection there that we will always have. So that's that. That's the story. Nothing super exciting, but it was fun. It was exciting to build the house, and as best as we could. It would have been more exciting if we could have seen the stuff in progress, but Mo's cousin gave us lots of pictures when she could. She would drive by and kind of let us know the progress of things. And I have to say, it was a whole new experience, kind of going from scratch. And for the most part, it was pretty good. So that's that. So that's my story, and I am almost done with this second color of stitching. So maybe I will finish that up and put this away for a few minutes to go for a walk. Let me show you. So pretty much, you know, obviously in a half an hour's time, I'm not gonna get a ton done, but I got half of the door done, and then I started filling in here between the windows. So the door will come down, maybe to about here, and then that's just house, and then over here. So hopefully maybe I'll get some more time to work on this during the week, and I am planning to get back to filming on Friday, as far as I can tell. I don't think there'll be any conflicts with schedule, and then I'll get a chance to get back to our schedule. I'll have lots to show you, because 2 weeks worth of stitching, can you imagine? You know how much I like to jump around with projects. So I think I've did 2 starts and finishes, because I've got a little mini set of projects that I'm working on. I can't wait to show you, of a new designer that I hadn't tried before, that I had seen somebody stitching on Instagram. So I've got that, and then I've got, you know, a lot of my regular pieces, and there's probably a good 6 or 7 projects that I've touched so far. I didn't do a lot of stitching Thanksgiving week. I'd probably only have maybe a little bit of time, you know, to wind down here or there at night. Or my mom would watch, my mom likes Hallmark movies as much as I do, so we would sit sometimes and watch some Hallmark movies, and I'd bring my stitching out then. So there's a little bit here or there, but not a lot. So hopefully this week I'll get some more done, and I will have some good stitching to show you next week. But until then, I hope you are getting in some stitching yourself, and are well, and are safe, and all that good stuff. And until I see you next time, happy stitching.